Oh no, I've sold my house and now I can't find the dream home that I'm looking for and I'm stuck and I'm living on the street or potentially on the street. Or, oh no, I've bought a house and now I can't sell the existing house that I needed to sell in order to close on my new house. And this is a scenario that many people that are looking to upsize or downsize go through in their minds before they actually make the decision to do this. Upsizers and downsizers, this video is for you and I hope to make this process easy and simple. There is one clear-cut answer when you're looking to upsize or downsize in if you should buy first or sell first. But before I get to the conclusion, I'm going to break down two scenarios for you and the pros and cons. My name is Athar Jaffrey. I've been selling real estate in the GTA for more than 20 years. And if you have any questions, just drop a comment below or send me a message directly. And my goal with this channel is to make buying and selling real estate simple. All right, let's dive right into it. Two scenarios. Scenario one is where you buy your house first and then you sell your current existing property. Or scenario two is you sell your house first and then you buy the next home that you're looking to get into. Which scenario is better? Let's break it down with some pros and cons. Let's start with scenario one, where if you buy your house first. What are the pros in buying your property first when you're looking to upsize or downsize? Well, the one pro is that you don't feel under pressure to buy anything. You don't have so much stress. You don't feel like you're in a rush. You could take your time a little bit in shopping for that right home. And hopefully that time translates to you finding that perfect property. So no rush, less stress. That is one main pro if you buy your home first. That is the only pro in terms of the buying aspect. We'll get to the whole picture later, but in terms of buying first, less pressure, less stress. Now let's get on to the cons. If you were to buy first and then sell, what are the cons? Well, it brews a scenario where potentially you could become a desperate seller. Let's say you've bought a property and you put a 60 or 90-day closing. Currently, we're in a buyer's market, so it is in the buyer's favor. It's not a seller's market. It's harder to sell a home. What can happen is that if you are not able to sell your existing property and you've bought the property, you will become a desperate seller and you will, in essence, start to lower the price point until you get to a price point that it actually sells. If it even sells at that price point. The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't sell. Now you got to close on that new property and you don't have the funds, or even if you do, you got to bridge the loan. Now you got to carry two properties. It is a recipe for disaster. If that's the case in this market as a buyer's market and you buy your house first and then you put up your house for sale or your condo for sale in order to fund that closing of the new home, it brews for a lot of stress, especially in a buyer's market. In a declining market, you can get stuck and it just fills your life with unneeded stress. So that's pretty much the main con and the all-encompassing con if you're gonna buy your house first and then you put up your house for sale, is that you may not sell it, and when you do, you may have had to drop the price in order to make the timelines line up in order for you to close on that other property. Okay, so there are cons in the other scenario and I'll get to that. But this is the biggest con. You could become a desperate seller. Now you're just losing money and you may not even sell it for enough to close on the other property. I might be repeating myself here, but this is a very realistic scenario in today's market, especially in the buyer's market that we're in right now. So now let's go on to scenario two, where you've actually sold your home first and now you're looking to buy. So what are the pros in you selling first? The biggest pro of you selling your home first before buying your next home is that you'll have financial clarity. You know exactly what your bottom line is. You know what you're coming home with after you paid all your selling fees, and you know what you're working with. So now you will take that number and you will shop around in the market within your budget and criteria. And that number is not going to change because you've already sold it. It's a firm deal. You know that this is the amount that you're coming home with and you're going to shop within that range. So it really makes things a lot easier in terms of your finances and knowing what you are working with. Another pro is that you will not become a desperate seller because you haven't bought anything. You're not obligated to closing on anything. You can play around a little bit with the market. You could take your time. You could do some prep work around the house to make sure it shines and shows well when you are coming onto the market. So you will not be a desperate seller in this situation. The cons are you may feel a little bit pressure once your house is sold to find something, But it does not take years to find the right property. It should not even take a few months. Realistically, the magic number is maybe about a month and maybe about 20 homes. If you are seeing more than that, then your capacity or your capability to make a good decision on buying gets less and less with the more homes you see, because now you're just going in circles. You're hoping for a different result or a different type of property that may not exist in that price point. So really it comes down to setting your expectations realistically so you don't feel the pressure of having to buy so fast, and to understand that the grass is not always greener in the other side. If you've seen a good sample size of the market, it really is time for you to make a decision with what you've seen already. Or increase your budget and maybe you'll find something else, but not everybody is able to do that. Not everybody has enough savings to add to their equity that they've built up on the sale of their property to buy something even bigger. Usually people will just take the equity, use that, and transfer it over to their next property. Don't worry, the right property, if you are upsizing, is out there. You really don't have to feel that, oh my God, what if I don't find what I'm looking for? I can promise you and guarantee you what you're looking for is out there if you are realistic, what your budget gets you. Simple as that. With these two scenarios, I'm sure you can see what the clear-cut winner is. In any market, I would suggest that you sell your property first before you actually buy anything if you are looking to upsize. It will really make things easier for you. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if I sold my house, I'm not able to buy, and now I might have to be homeless for a little while? Or I bought something, but the closing didn't line up with the sale of my property. Now, again, I'm going to be homeless for a little while. Well, let's back up a little bit. Whenever you're doing the numbers for these scenarios in upsizing, you should put a certain budget or a number for at least 2 months of a short-term rental in there, just in case. You never know. You got to do these numbers with the worst case scenario. Many times you have family that you can live with. Now, I know it's not a fun situation to be in where you're in between houses and you have nowhere to go, but I think that is a better situation than having purchased a home and now not being able to sell your home. That is a much more stressful situation to be in, is when you're trying to juggle 2 properties, trying to sell the property, it's not selling, and you're dropping the price, you've closed on this property, now you need to borrow money from all these different angles in order to close, because you can't close on the new property until you sell this property. Forget all that noise. Just fix into your budget, into your numbers, a 2-month buffer in terms of finding short-term rentals if need be. Many times you won't need to do that, but it's always good to be ready for that. Because remember what I just said a second ago, the alternative is you bought the house and now you can't even sell the house. That's a worse position to be in. So I would say when you're doing the numbers of all of this, add in a buffer zone for at least 2 months of a short-term rental if needed. Many times there's family or something that many times you can stay with family, but again, everybody's life is different, so I'm not going to just assume that. And the best way is just to add a line in all the numbers that you're breaking down when you're looking to upsize, and that is temporary housing, 60 days. I know one question that people might ask is, what's the right time to do this? And should we do it when the market is going up? Should we do it when the market is going down? Or when the market is going sideways? Well, I can tell you that it's probably not the best time to do it in an appreciating market. Upsizing is much harder in an appreciating market. Why I say this is that, yes, your property might be easy to sell in an appreciating market because it's probably a seller's market, so you'll get top dollar for your home. But when it comes to buying, it's much more difficult, much more competitive, and the price will also be higher, but much higher, because now 10% on that $1 million home that you're aspiring to get into is a lot more than the 10% on your condo that's maybe worth $600,000. So it could end up being more expensive for you in an appreciating market. So it might be better to do it in the market that we're in, where it's a declining market or a sideways market. Now, in a declining market, yes, you're going to sell your condo or your townhouse for less. We get it. But you are also going to buy your next property for a lower amount as well. And if the next property is worth more money, you are going to pay a lot less. You're going to save a lot more on that property as well. Again, the same 10% on that $1 million, if it's less, is a lot more money than that 10% that you're losing on the condo if the prices are coming down. At the end of the day, if you're buying and selling in the same market, you're going to be in the same place. It's just a little safer in a sideways market or a depreciating market. Another bonus tip to know if you are upsizing or downsizing is that you can carry over the remaining balance from the current property into the new property. And then whatever difference that is, the bank will add that onto it. Now, what the benefit of this situation is, depending on the mortgage that you have, if you have a very good rate on the existing mortgage, and let's say there's $500,000 left on that existing mortgage, and you're buying $1 million property, but you need 80% of the $1 million, so you have to come up with $300,000 more in terms of a loan that the bank will give you. So in this case, if you're selling your existing property and there's $500,000 mortgage on there, and it has a very good low rate, they will transfer that $500,000 to the new property with the same rate, and then the extra $300,000 that you need, they will add to that $500,000 with the new interest rate. So if it's higher, that $300,000 will have a higher interest rate. And then they will blend those two payments together. And it actually makes things a bit cheaper for you than somebody else who's starting from scratch, is buying that property with 20%. With today's interest rates, which are higher, they'll be paying more if it's the exact same property with the exact same mortgage. So there is a benefit there if you're able to transfer your remaining balance. If it's at a good interest rate, you can transfer it, and then the new balance, they'll add on to that and they'll blend the rate. So it's something you should know if you did not know that already. Another thing you can start doing if you are looking to upsize or downsize before you have made any decision is get your realtor to actually set all your expectations. So the selling price should be worst case scenario. You got to do worst case scenario for the selling price. You shoot and you aim to get higher, but the selling price that's on paper that you're working with should be on the lower end of things, just in case that is where it ends up, especially in a declining market. So do the worst case numbers on the selling end, and then on the buying end, do all your numbers with the highest, again, worst case scenario, but on the higher end, so that you have a buffer on both ends. I always do all my numbers for my clients this way. Selling, worst case, this is the scenario. Buying, worst case, this is the scenario. If those two scenarios make sense to you and you're able to deal with it and afford it in that sense, if you sell it at this amount and buy it at that amount, and this is what you have left and these are your monthly payments, if that scenario makes sense, then go for it, because more than likely, it won't be the worst case scenarios on both. I'm sure it'll be a little bit better than the worst case scenario that you had drum up for yourself or your realtor had planned out for you. But start with the worst case scenarios. Again, these are ways you can't go wrong and you have more peace of mind in such a big decision and such a big process like upsizing or like downsizing. So in my opinion, there's one clear-cut answer in this situation, and no matter what market you are in, if you're looking to upsize or downsize, you should be selling first. The main thing that you have to worry about if you sell first is maybe having temporary housing for a little while, which if you took my advice earlier, you will already have a line built into your spreadsheet, and it's going to be temporary housing, and it should be for 60 days. Now imagine you don't have to use it. That's a bonus now. Your numbers are going to be better than what you actually wrote down on paper, and same thing when it comes to the worst case scenarios. Your numbers will most likely end up being better. I hope this helped. I hope this kind of painted a better picture for you in terms of what you should do first. And if you know anybody, maybe it's not you, but maybe you know a friend or family that is looking to upsize or downsize, but they don't know what to do first, make sure you send them this video, and I hope it helps. With this channel, I'm just trying to make buying and selling real estate simple. If you have any questions, just send me a DM, and remember, if you're looking to buy or sell, better call Joffrey.